Right, well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Catherine Degnen. I'm an anthropologist working at Newcastle University. My colleague, Silvia Pasquetti, is also here with me. She's a sociologist at Newcastle University. And we've been really fortunate this year to be working with WEARS, which is the West End Refugee Service, on a project to celebrate their 20 years of service here in Newcastle. So today we're really excited to be having a virtual conversation with WEARS to help mark Refugee Week here in the UK. Refugee Week is a UK-wide festival celebrating the contributions, the resilience of refugees, and has been going, I think, since the late 90s, and is held every year around World Refugee Day, which is June 20th, and is a global celebration. So many warm thanks and welcome to Ali and Hannah, who are here on the call with us as well from WEARS, and to Alex, one of our students here in sociology, who's also participating on today's panel. I think that when I'm talking, the video will only record my picture. So I wonder if I could quickly ask Silvia to say hi. Where are you?
Hello, everybody. This is Silvia, colleague of Cate.
Thank you. And then Ali, can you say hello?
Hi, my name is Ali, or Musa Hassan Ali, and I work for the West End Refugee Service as support worker.
Thank you. And Hannah, where are you?
I'm here. Hello, everyone. I'm Hannah. I work at West End Refugee Service as the volunteer project manager.
And then finally, Alex, will you just say a quick hello?
Hello, I'm Alex. I've just finished second year sociology at Newcastle.
Fantastic. Thank you. So those are my colleagues on the panel here today. We also welcome our student participants who are attending from Silvia's module, which is a second-year module called Refugees and Displacement, and my module, which is a third-year module called Making Personhood. So today's event has been funded as one of the Newcastle University Heritage, NUI Core and Sites of Conscience World Refugee Day activities, and we'd like to thank them for their support in enabling this to happen. And really what we'd like to do today is create space to discuss issues of refuge, asylum, sanctuary, and the impact of COVID-19 in particular for WEARS' work here in the city of Newcastle, and also the work that they do in the broader region here in the Northeast. So we thought the best way to do that was to structure today's discussion into two parts. So part A is going to focus on how WEARS has adjusted over the past 3 months of this pandemic, how it's adapted in order to keep carrying out its vital work in supporting refugees and asylum seekers here in Newcastle, and some of the challenges that that pandemic has presented to us as residents here in the city, and more specifically to the clients that WEARS supports. And then part B is going to be a bit more conceptual with a bit of a broader focus on a reflection of WEARS' work over the past 20 years on creating sanctuary, not just for refugees, but with refugees in the city. And we're going to try to explore some themes about how perhaps memories get transformed into action, the ways in which memories of the past get mobilized into the present, and particularly in terms of the sorts of relationships that WEARS has developed over a long period of time in this city, and to try to transform Newcastle into a place of sanctuary, and to a more welcoming city. And we'll close this part of the session with a final Q&A from our student participants. And then just a quick note that following on from today's webinar, in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to host a second conversation and meeting, very similar to this one. And in this final segment, we'd like to focus on broader issues of racial justice and injustice, and some pressing issues around discrimination in society from the perspective of refugees and asylum seekers. So that's something we're going to do soon, and in its own bespoke session. So I have a little housekeeping details just to quickly get through for the audience members. I can see you've all got your mute buttons on. Thank you very much. That helps us just maintain the flow of the panel during the discussion time. But when it comes to Q&A, please feel free to join in. Please don't forget to unmute so that we can hear you, and you can turn your videos on then as well if you'd like us to see you. Please bear in mind that this will be posted online, so that if you have any privacy issues or concerns about your identity or your space that you're currently in, might be better to keep your video off. And also please note that you give, by participating in this recording, you give consent for this to be posted online, and you understand that that's what we're intending to do with the document. Thank you for that. I guess the very last thing I'd like to say before I hand over to the panel, and this is, Hannah reminded us that the theme of Refugee Week here in the UK this year is Imagine. And I would like to just kind of put that on the table as something that can be interpreted in many ways, but perhaps for the here and now, we might think about that concept as giving a sense of challenge to the status quo. How do we challenge the status quo? How do we use it to help us summon up a vision of how we might get to somewhere new and somewhere different? So I think I should stop there and turn to our panel so that we can start our discussion. So Alex, if you're ready, I'm going to turn my microphone off and invite you to begin with the questions that you've prepared. Thank you.
Yeah, so I've got a few questions. Most of them are related to COVID and how you're carrying on your services through that. So how have you been coordinating and negotiating your services for clients remotely, and do all clients have access to online resources?
Anna, you wanted to start or you wanted me to start?
Do you want to start and talk about support work and how that's changed, and then I can talk a bit about the volunteer stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a difficult experience actually, because most of our district clients need to be supported, and most of them were either homeless, either have nowhere to stay or stay with friends. With this pandemic, it's made very difficult. If those who were accepted for some places, it's come to the point to say, no, because of this, find somewhere to go. So those were the difficult one. But regarding to our district asylum seekers, we continue to see them with distancing. We have very small projects. We used to see them by outside and give them their money. Not all of them has online things or internet or something. So it was very difficult. The only thing is to phone them, say, well, okay, come to collect your support today and stay 2 meters. Then you make his card and you give him support. So since this pandemic starts, we begin to support this client monthly, every month, rather than weekly, as we used to do. And because of the situation we were in, it was really necessary to add something to our £10 client each to become £15. So that was a bit better for them. A month they got £60, and at this point we add them £10 to top up their credit on telephone. Then we can stay on telephone, because no one can have a computer or something. It was telephone only. So we made sure that every client got top up a monthly where we can ring to know how they are coping, how they are. And another things which come surprise me, it's Section 4 support. Because since I think it was the 23rd of March, any failed asylum seeker can apply Section 4 under COVID-19. So many of our clients, we were pushing them to contact Migrant Help, or we liaise them with North of England Refugee Service, which we work very closely, and they contact Migrant Help for them. Surprisingly, on 132 clients we are supporting, up to last week, we got 37 who has now Section 4 support, and they are on the accommodation. But COVID-19, so we don't know if it's finished, how these people will be. So that's a point where we really confused on that. But thanks God, most of them who were really, really in need, who does not have relative or friend, close or family or partner, they are getting Section 4 under COVID, but we don't know what's going to happen to them. These are people who failed their case, some of them many years. We have clients for 14, 15.
Can you tell us what Section 4 is, how it changed from before, just so that we understand the importance of the change with COVID-19?
Okay.
Thanks.
Home Office usually give 3 types of support. There are Section 4, which is, we call, in the past we used to call them hard case support. This support, you are giving that support if either you are not well, so you cannot travel, which means Home Office cannot send it to your country. You are unwell, so that you will be eligible to get that Section 4 support. Section 4 support consists to go to the shop and buy things only. You don't get cash in hand. So, but you get full board accommodation, and it changed their life on the other hand. The Section 95 is people who are still supported by Home Office, are waiting to hear their decision, and so on. And we got other support, which it disappeared since 2017, Section 21 support. This is under social service, to support those who are in need if they cannot go to their country. So if they still live in Newcastle, they will be supported by social service under Section 21. But it's come to the law in 2017. Asylum seeker has no recourse to public fund. So most of them who are coming to that situation, they are not well or they are in hospital. Before they discharge them, they contact social service. Usually social service take responsibility and give accommodation and support. But since that law came in, those people are not eligible to get Section 21. So which means they are send them to Section 4 support. This is support where you need to get your support by going to the shop. Maybe you have very difficult mobility movement, so you cannot go to the shop. Things like, it's very, very difficult support. Section 4, it's a tough one, you know, but thanks to this group of clients who are getting now Section 4, which means take them out of the street, it's really massive. So during all this pandemic, we have been working by phoning them, by knowing how they are. Some of them come to collect food, toiletry. So we keep distance, but we give what they need. And probably advise them, stay home, do this. You reassure them. Some of them does not understand what's going on. Maybe does not speak English. So usually they will come to get an explanation. You need to explain them this pandemic is not only here, it's all around the world. And it's dangerous. You need to protect yourself, stay your distance. To the point, okay. So you can see all of them, they got masks, some of them. So it reassures to see they are understanding what this COVID is, and they are taking that risk, even if they cannot stay home, I can say. They cannot stay home, you know. Some of them, they are with friends who work somewhere, and when they come, they need to wait and that friend come back from work, then get into the house. So those are the difficult, most of our clients have been through this, on this pandemic. It's very difficult, but the big group which we really focus on, it's this destitute failed asylum seeker. We got other clients, you know, many of them are either waiting to know if Home Office is going to decide about their case, or some of them has been granted status, but they rely on our project, on everything, on utility bill, on everything. So this is a connection. Now they're stuck, they don't know where to go. It's phone calls. So we keep in touch, and those who need food, we refer them to the food bank, or sometimes we get food from all around Newcastle. I don't know, there are many organizations who are...
Yeah, I can talk a bit about the food
parcels.
parcels.
I will talk about that. So yeah, briefly, this is how at work here, me and Helen we've been doing. It's very difficult, but we try to adapt on the situation we are in.
I think there's been a huge shift, haven't there? I can carry on from what Ali was saying. Ali sees everyone face to face, and face-to-face contact for our clients is so valuable. I think Wes has been there for way longer than I have, and Ali has been there for years and years, and there's a big feeling of trust, and that it's a house that welcomes people. And when we had to close the doors, it was so hard. We were so busy the week before the lockdown, and we could see that there was, you know, we didn't understand what the pandemic meant. We weren't completely clear how to keep ourselves safe, but most importantly, the clients and the volunteers. So we had to make that decision. We could see the lockdown was coming. We have volunteers and clients who are vulnerable. We were really aware of that, weren't we, Ali, that a lot of our clients have long-term health issues. Some of them would have undiagnosed health issues, so they would be vulnerable but not necessarily know that. And so there was a big shift, and Ali and Helen went straight onto the phones. Yeah, and the things that Ali's talking about, so the destitute clients, I think we were really worried about them because they're a group who don't have that stability, they don't have that home to go to. So the Section 4 support's been a massive thing in terms of a step up really in terms of the government trying to protect people and keep them safe. But as Ali said, we don't know whether that'll go beyond that. To support Ali and Helen as well, we've got our brilliant support workers who were desperate to do stuff but couldn't work safely from the building at that stage. So like Ali said, we started off doing the doorstep and gave everyone these new prepayment cards. So like Ali was saying, they get their money on it every month, but that's backed up by phone calls every week by the support workers. So we had support workers who did the same shift every week and saw the same group of clients. So we kind of said, right, well, we'll try and replicate that week just from home. So we have 4 fantastic support workers who sit at home. We've got funding for a mobile, and they ring the same clients every week. So they're the destitute clients who would normally come and get their money on a Monday. They get a phone call from Pat or from Chris, so they have that one-to-one support. But like Ali said, there's huge issues with language and stuff, and there's huge issues with, I think the phone credit was a big thing, wasn't it, Ali? Because if people don't have credit on their phone, it's a cut-off. I mean, everyone is experiencing isolation through this, aren't they? But I think our clients are, all of the client group we work with, whether you're seeking asylum, whether you have refugee status or you're destitute, none of our clients have, well, lots of them don't have enough access to online technology, online credit to keep communication going in a way that other people can. So I think that's been a huge thing, really. So the food parcel, so we started doing a few things that we wouldn't normally do, because I suppose our clients, like Ali was saying, are coming up with issues that they wouldn't come up with normally. So when all the other great drop-ins closed, who might give out a bag of food a week, there's a drop-in further down in Fenham who or down the hill from us, who gave a bag of food to a lot of the same clients that we see every week, and that stopped. And the drop-ins where you can get a cup of tea and a biscuit or a community meal, all of that stopped, and they were kind of lifelines for a lot of our destitute clients. I think they're lifelines kind of socially as well. So language classes are incredibly important for clients in terms of keeping things open. So in terms of isolation, that was like way up higher than normal, like it is for everyone, but possibly more intense for this group. And then, material needs. So if people are being told they have to wash everything and they need hand sanitizer, you can't afford that if you're on Section 95, Section 4, or the destitute, the £10 a week. So we quite quickly started working with a couple of local charities, and actually worked closely with Public Health England through Newcastle Council, and coordinated quite a quick response so that we were giving out food parcels. And for us, we're really lucky that we've got a great group of volunteers who are all desperate as well to do something. And for a couple of weeks, we were like, we don't know what you can do. But they all have started coming to collect parcels from the building, and so they take them to clients who can't make the journey to the food bank. But we have a new kind of an increased collaboration really with the food bank, where they've upped the amount of referrals that we can make to them. They're under huge strain, but have been fantastic. So we've worked with the food bank in the West End, and then the Life Vineyard Church in the East End, who are essentially another food bank, to meet the client need really. So Ali sometimes sees bags of food coming in down the corridor, and then they get taken away, and some clients go straight to the food bank. But they were 2 big things we did straight away, weren't they, to change the money to kind of online remote to keep clients safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what you were talking about as well, Ali, and this is linked, Alex, to people having access to online, people not understanding how to keep themselves safe. Like Ali said, there was this kind of, all right, you've got a face mask so you understand, because it's hard for us to navigate, as English is my first language, and I still have to, it's hard to keep up to date. And we were needing to keep the clients up to date, but also the volunteers, and things have changed, haven't they, a lot over the last 3 months in terms of
absolutely. The cards remote, it's amazing story, absolutely, I'm telling you, because you are paying the money into the card. The client does not need to come here, so they can stay where they are, safe. the first month is the one which we were face to face, I can say, the first period of pandemic. But after that, none of the clients come here. We just communicate on the phone, and that's something like that. So it's really, really massive and interesting, because most of our clients, they know now how to use the card. They go to the cash machine, withdraw their monthly payment. So that, but we keep in touch with them in order to know if they're still here, they are not on another support, or they have had problem or health issues, things like that. So we are in regular contact, actually.
Yeah, and we did quite a bit, and there is some like Doctors of the World, and there's some other great organizations who produced translations of just, you know, guidance and safety advice around COVID. But again, that does depend on a level of literacy. So the phone calls, so we're just briefing all the support workers and the befrienders as well. We did a big pack at the beginning of, this is all the stuff that we think you might need, and the stuff that the clients might really need to know, that we can assume we know, but they may not be able to engage with that information. So Ali's phone calls are crucial, aren't they? You're working through a list of like things that we need to check with people, and it's different stuff. It's about how they feel as well, and if they know, if they've got symptoms, do they understand how to keep themselves safe and what to do and how to get help, all of that stuff. So it's kind of a different set of issues, isn't it, for our clients, Ali? Some the same, but a lot different. Yeah.
It's what's good about it, I can say the majority of our clients, after speaking to them about it, they understand, you know. We are lucky to have some people with different language, French, English. So Bill and me and everything, we try the best to explain clients what COVID is, how you can stay away of it, you know, things like that. It's wash your hands, things like that. You see, they are taking it very seriously, very serious, very afraid of COVID, you know. This is the many of my clients, they cannot approach someone, even this is someone approaching him, it's not 2 meters, he pushed himself away. So it shows that they take it seriously, and thanks God, we hope nothing will happen to them, because most of them, they are quite vulnerable, you know. Not having
now,
some.
Ali, do you think as well, there's obviously a big issue with a lot of clients who live alone or are here alone, and so whilst we have social networks we can call on,
Absolutely.
There won't be as much of that, obviously. But also we've got clients in HMO, so homes of multiple occupancy, where, and whilst the housing provider have made steps and are trying hard, it's a huge project, obviously, with a lot of residents. So people aren't able to actually socially distance safely. They kind of are one household, but there's a lot of people and they don't just go out and do one lot of shopping. So they are more at risk through those things as well. And also I think the worry and anxiety, like you said, Ali, about the virus it's quite justifiably possibly more with some clients than others because of their living circumstances.
We still have clients on Section 21 because Newcastle, even if they are begin to apply that law or no recourse to public fund, they didn't terminate those people who they're supporting, for many of them for many years. So those are the clients who are regularly do home visit. On this situation, people does not have family, relative, and they cannot go out. So this is a people who sometime on their day on Tuesday regularly, that's when I do home visit in the afternoon. I go to their fences and we chat. We discuss.
Talking over the garden fence.
Yeah, because there's nothing to, even if I got my mask, I got my gloves, but to reassure him, say, well, listen, it's like this, like this, like. So we chat and we even go into other discussion to the point where you see he was reassured. So he's not alone. And I get a lot of calls. Ali, can I get this? Can I get this? Oh, okay. We are quite quicker here. So we always try to, mainly toiletry, sanitary towel, all sorts of things that people can need help. So we do that. And we do that in distancing ourselves. So it's worked, and reassure many of our clients that I've got someone who's supporting me. I've got some people who are thinking about me. So this is a reassurance, and that's amazing for many of our clients.
Yeah. There's we've also started a couple of other new initiatives, which to still answer this question, Alex, is that okay? We've started a new scheme. So obviously we've got the befriending scheme, which I know I think you're going to ask about in a little while, but we also launched a remote befriending scheme. So we're funded by the Community Fund through the National Lottery, and there was an uplift in fund we could apply for. So we did that quite quickly and and started taking referrals quite quickly for a remote befriending scheme. We just trained about 20 volunteers just before the lockdown. And so lots of them were doing food parcel stuff, but all of them we knew were there and really wanted to support, and they'd had all the training. So we now have 17 active matches of referrals, and we're getting them in all the time. It's very busy, actually. And they've come from all sorts of partners across the city. But really was about opening up communication, isn't it, Ali? So we've got loads of clients out there, and some of them will ring Ali, and Ali's also going through lists of clients that we've seen in the last year to make sure that we're making contact with those people. And this is not just the destitute clients. This is, I think we saw over 500 clients last year, and a lot of them are kind of repeat attenders and repeat engagements. So we launched this scheme, and we also got some funding to put all of our training online. And we hope to keep, so the scheme is running for 6 months, but we hope we can do it beyond that, because we kind of think things are not going to be totally different in August or September. But I think that's been a real, it's been a great thing to be able to engage with quite quickly, because all of this has been so hard to try and change things very quickly. And the clients' needs changed quickly, and they intensified quickly, didn't they? So it's been really good to be able to set that up. So we have quite a lot of experienced befrienders who are also remote befrienders, and they're just putting phone calls in. But there's lovely stories of WhatsApp calls and, doing quizzes with the kids of the family they support, shared cookery lessons. There's a couple of guys one guy who befriends another guy, and he was getting a cookery lesson a couple of weeks ago. So there's lovely stuff happening. And they're people who, it's an odd thing, isn't it? You don't have that face-to-face connection, but we've been really pleased it can work for the clients. So we think that'll probably continue as long as we are living with this, in the way we are. And then in terms of befriending, we kind of had to tell everyone in the lockdown to stop seeing each other, but encourage them to stay in touch on the phone. And some of them are doing video calls, and lots of them are just using WhatsApp to do phone calls and video calls. And again, both schemes, we've offered extra phone credit and got funding for that, just so that can't be a barrier for so the client want to take the initiative and ring their befriender, they can. It's not just always the other way around. And actually now that the lockdown has eased a little bit, some people are safely saying they want to meet each other, but it's been really important to talk very closely with clients and volunteers and say, just do whatever you feel comfortable with, because everyone responds to this differently, don't they? So like Ali said, there's people who really want him to come and talk over the fence, but there are some people who are really scared about going out. And whilst we can encourage people that it is okay, it's their choice. So there's a big balancing act just in terms of helping people make the most informed decision that's right for them, and helping them, and that they feel okay with that decision for them. But we do have quite a lot of befriending matches who are kind of slowly starting to see each other, and that's nice to see, just at a distance in the park, or But the befrienders have been amazing. They've and again, it's been a great thing for us they're part of the communication channels, aren't they, Ali, in terms of hearing what's happening for a client and whether Ali needs to help or not. And that's a big part of the remote befriending, is just to open up communication with as many clients as we can and just facilitate that. So that if there are support needs, they can be identified.
Yeah, we are really getting very nice feedback for remote befrienders. The clients, they are really, thanks, Ali, you put me in touch with this person. It's really good, thanks, because I was so lonely and so on. So it's really nice. Yeah,
I'm sure that's a two-way street for a lot of the volunteers and the befrienders too, right? So yeah, it's amazing listening to you guys reflect on all of this, because there's so many punctuating moments of continuity in the relationships that have existed, between the support workers who are seeing the same group as much as possible, key contacts within the service who clients reach out to and who can respond. and even sort of, you know, the befrienders, which is such a core pillar of what you provide, the connection that you provide there, to be able to find a way to pivot that to a way that's virtually possible for people to connect is another continuity in light of all this change as well. It's really amazing. Alex, did you want to come in again?
Yeah. So the next question was about befriending, so that's fine. That's been covered. Have you been able to, or have you had to provide any additional support to clients with children that have had to homeschool their children, and obviously navigating parenthood during this?
Well,
yes, Ali can answer this.
I can answer that. Yeah, because since this pandemic starts, you know, we got a lot of clients who are refugee, who are, and most of them, some of them become British, but they don't speak English, they don't read English, they do nothing. So when the children come home, homework, all this stuff, they can't manage. So usually it's to ask through the project like ours. And we work closely with welfare education services for Newcastle City Council, and they really doing great job. Also through the telephone, they try to understand through the food school vouchers. So it's worked very well, and you can see the client appreciates. I got my food vouchers, my children's school vouchers for a month. So I said, oh, okay, thank you, Ali. I was stuck, I didn't know what to do. My kids, the problem we are having on this client group is they don't access to this new technology, laptops or whatsoever. It's really difficult. So it's tough. It's really tough, but yeah, we hope welfare education officers are working hard on that, try to find a solution. And Helen is working with many organizations which can support these families by bringing school material and trying to find if they can adapt with the children. So on that side, it seems stuck a bit, but we hope it will change if they get those material, those computer, those telephone we can use, you can get into internet, you know, so it's difficult. It's difficult.
I think it's a continuation really of the way we usually work with families when they can't access so much of your work, Ali, is about helping people access what they're entitled to. So the council put out knowingly that lots of families couldn't engage because they didn't have laptops at home and not enough access to technology. And you know, Wi-Fi is a whole other thing. It's not easy to start setting Wi-Fi up in everyone's house, but they put a call out and said, if you need a laptop, but our clients, those of them wouldn't have known about that. So we immediately, with our befrienders, got them to tell their befriendees, and we immediately made a few referrals. And then Ali's working through, we've got a list of families that we've been working through, making contact with them just with a list of questions about challenges they might be coming across, and then we're signposting. But I think working with the, like Ali said, with the welfare department at the education team, they're a relatively small team, and there's a lot of asylum seekers and refugees in the city. So we're just trying to help them find who some of the people are as well. We were hearing from schools generally, I think through the education department, that our client group were just not being able to engage with curriculum. So just making that link, and it might be that they just don't know how do you navigate the website. Like I get confused with my son's school stuff, and I have the access and the language, so it's very understandable. There are massive barriers. But like Ali said, the school have been, this welfare department have put packs together as well. So we applied for some funding from the City Lifeline at the Newcastle City Council Fund to put some activity packs together, which weren't necessarily educational, but there were things, basic materials like coloured paper and card and pens and scissors and glue and stuff that lots of people just won't have in their house. It's so new for everyone to have kids at home full time. So we're putting these packs together. We got the funding, put the packs together, and then we add the stuff from the education department. So that those packs are going out, and they're going out in the next couple of weeks from us, but we'll keep that going, because as long as school is not normal, and the holidays are a struggle for lots of people, there'll be more of a struggle after this period. But it's been linking up, hasn't it, Ali? Linking up the right people and identifying
absolutely
where we can get the support for them from. But we wouldn't normally be doing activity packs. We've changed the way we do things, definitely.
We try to adapt.
The remote befriending's been very good. We've had quite a lot of referrals for families So we get to know our volunteers really well, and we ask them about what they want to do, and there are lots of them who really want to do stuff with kids, so they can get on the phone and chat to the whole family and talk to the kids about their schoolwork or talk to them about what they've been doing, and all of that stuff helps it, I think. Little bits, but hopefully making quite a big difference.
And we are getting quite new referral for new arrival. Usually they come during this pandemic and put somewhere and can't go anywhere. So mayors refer those who they may need to understand or to know what they need. But those who they cannot understand each other, they are there. And we begin to get a call directly from those arrivals. Say, well, are you West End Refugee Service here? I need shirts, I need coat, I need, say, what, who are you? I say, I come 2 days ago, I'm living here, what address? So we need to open file, we need to follow up to understand their need. We will see what we have in the clothing store, we will pack and take what they need. If they are children, as Hannah mentioned, we got a pack, school pack, children pack, books and so on. So it's difficult. We don't know those who are not attending us, who are not attending other organizations which can get something. They are stuck in homes. We don't know. So anyway.
Imagine arriving here, like you said, in this, and dispersal is happening into the city.
Yeah.
And I think so much, obviously.
Sorry, Hannah, did you say dispersal is still happening?
Yeah. So it was, I think, well, Ali knows more than me about this, but I think at the beginning of the lockdown, there was a pause on things, but we are hearing that people are arriving again. And often we don't get predicted figures of dispersal. It happens and they arrive, but we're aware that dispersal is absolutely happening into the region.
Wow.
And then people going straight into these homes, and there it is. And the usual places are just not open. And a lot of the council support services were based around home visits and things as well. So there's been such a shift, hasn't there, in terms of what is possible?
Okay, well, I've got another question. So I know volunteering for clients, like volunteering with you guys, is a big part of their lives. So do you think that they're facing any issues as a result of not being able to actively volunteer in the community and with your organisation?
Yeah, shall I talk a bit about this, Ali, first?
Yes, please go first.
So we had to close the clothing store. And the clothing store's run by 15 fantastic clients who run it for us. So we get donations from the public, and then they distribute them fairly. People have a choice of stuff. And lots of issues around clothing. We had to say no to donations. And also it's a busy, bustling place. So we closed that, and that not only meant that we had to stop clients having a free choice and access to clothes, although Ali and Helen are responding to specific requests, and we've done baby packs, and like Ali said, for new arrivals, people who really don't have enough packages of things. So we have a kind of stock of stuff. But yeah, for the volunteers, because we do sort of supervisions and evaluations and stuff with them, and they always talk about it being a really lovely part of the week for them. And particularly for lots of our clients, particularly for clients who are destitute, who have this kind of endless waiting in limbo, and people who are seeking asylum, something in the week which is a focus where they feel they've done something good, they have worth, they meet other people, they have a social time. Like, there's a real sense of fulfillment that people take away from it. And I think we've just started talking to our clothing store volunteers. We've been talking to them all the way through, and sending them packs, and they have families and are struggling with all the same things that everybody has been. But they're all desperate to come back. So we're looking at safe ways to get them back. And we know that from clients who were volunteering out in the community through Skills Match, yes, it's been a big thing for all of them, because they were in something where they had met a whole other group of people. And some of them are volunteering quite a lot, and there are really limited options now in the city in terms of volunteering. So we are starting conversations with our partner organisations, but a lot of them are re-engaging with their existing volunteers. And a lot of our volunteers had great experiences kind of in cultural and arts institutions who are closed kind of longer term at the moment. So there are big gaps there. But we are starting conversations again. I'm hopeful there'll be a few organisations where we can try and get those people who were engaged back engaged again. But we're really keen to have clients back in the building help deliver the services. And I think when we do open, there will be different roles, but there'll be lots for people to do, hopefully.
It's really, it's really evocative for me. It kind of brings me right back into the clothing store and the few times that I've felt the cut and thrust. And do you know what? That's a really important kind of longer term point about what we're hearing from the arts and cultural industries at the moment, which is a lot of really deep-seated worry about the longer term implications of COVID and the pandemic on their fortunes. And it hadn't even occurred. Of course, everything's interconnected, isn't it? And that's one of the things that hadn't sprung to mind for me, but absolutely the kind of nested relationships that there are between the services that WEARS provides and the opportunities that Skills Match, for instance, makes connections with other sectors of society that are undergoing enormous change, and the kind of longer term implications.
We're really worried about, just to kind of reflecting just what you're saying, we built up these relationships, these amazing organisations. We work very closely with the Baltic, with Scotswood Garden, with Ousburn Farm. They're just three of many. They have huge challenges. We just you feel for everyone, don't you? You really do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's important to have these kinds of conversations because it peels away, it makes visible the things that you tacitly know because of your knowledge of your clientele and your service, but which we need to be trying to, that kind of joined up thinking for those of us who aren't in the midst of it. It's really important to help us to flesh out, I guess, the implications of all of this on different social levels.
We're all in our homes, aren't we? And you're so aware. It's huge on every sector, this. But one thing we have got, I'll just tell you this quickly, one thing we have got volunteers doing is, we knew there's a few volunteers who are keen, avid sewers with sewing machines or just into sewing. So we've got people making masks. And I have a lovely photo sent to me the other day of a lady in Gateshead. So when we open, if we open, we can give them out on the door, but also who can afford a mask amongst everything else if you can't make one yourself? So that's one thing that people are doing. We've got a couple of clients helping with the distribution of food as well, which has been fantastic. So the things that we are doing for COVID, we just need to engage as many clients as they want to. But I think it's, at the beginning, everyone was shell-shocked, I think, and it kind of stopped, everyone had to stop. But yeah.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Alex, was there any other?
That was all. I think you've pretty much covered all of
so much. That's Ali, was there anything that you wanted to come in on some of those before we switch gears into part B? Were there any kind of threads?
No, not really. Hannah has explained almost everything what I wanted to add, so I don't want to come back on that. Yeah, thanks.
It seems to me that, much of what you're talking about now, I imagine how things would have been different if this COVID-19 had happened in 1999, in the year 2000, the year 2001, because that's when Newcastle became a city of dispersal, right?
Yeah.
And WEARS was somehow created as a reaction to another shock, the arrival of people who were disoriented, who had not many places where to go, and they were dispersed in a city that was not ready. Local residents who didn't know much. So now, 20 years later, we are dealing with a huge global emergency. And Hannah, like you said, after a short pause, the Home Office is dispersing people again in Newcastle. But maybe I'm being optimistic, I don't know, but from everything I heard from you and the few times I volunteered at the clothing shop, I spent time with Ali, you and your office, I talked with Hannah. It seems to me that they are also arriving. I don't know if this is a place of sanctuary or we are heading towards a city as a place of protection of sanctuary. But my feeling, reading the 20 refugee stories that refugees have produced with you is that many of the new arrivals will find Ali's phone number sooner or later, if not Helen or worse address, because that was the feeling I had, that there was this word of mouth of, okay, now I'm here, where am I? And then once you know where you are, and it's Newcastle, worse is one of the, as many others as you have given us a sense of the network that has been built over the years. So I guess, how do I transform this thinking out loud into a question? It's mainly asking both of you if you can reflect how those bonds of trust, both institutional and personal, that you have developed in these years of working on the ground, how have they worked for you and for your clients through the epidemic? Yeah, if you just can reflect or give us some examples of stories of how without that trust, you would not have been maybe able to do what you have done with the befriender scheme, with the volunteers, with the new arrivals, with sending the food packages.
Well, let me start, because I got quite few experience on that. Well, as you know, I arrived in Newcastle in 2002, in May. And when I arrived in Newcastle, my health was not very good. I was in and out of hospital. So, but luckily, I was granted refugee status quite quicker. So the second option was to bring my family here, because they were in exile also, not in my country. So those process, it was very difficult. But me knowing West End Refugee Service, Newcastle Law Center, we always came to the West End Refugee Service either for clothing, either for chatting with other country fellow man. You know, it was a place where we usually meet Congolese, Rwandese, Burundese, Ivorian. So it was somewhere where if you want to meet someone, you're going to hang around there and see them. So on the time we arrived, Newcastle has quite negative reputation on racism. That racism, they were attacking African people, mainly black people of color, with eggs, insult, stone. But surprisingly, it's very young kids who are doing that. You know, I never see an adult, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's become, we were not safe to walk alone around Benwell area or Walker. So it was very challenging. At the same time, I'm waiting my family to join me here. So there are one things in my mind, say, well, if my family come here, I'm gonna move to another city because of those racism experience. But when my wife arrived, I became volunteer at the West End Refugee Service by September, because that's when I became a bit better. So what I was volunteering for, to be interpreters, because I was quite lucky to speak more than 6, 7 languages on the time. So I become some sort of interpret, everyone to ask, letters to read. So I become quite feeling for these people who are coming and say, let me decide to stay in Newcastle anyway. When my kids went to school, my fear was maybe my kids will be persecuted or insulted the way we had that experience as adults. But I never see that. In 2004, I was contacted to join the Holocaust Memorial Group in Newcastle, which was every year commemorate the Holocaust Memorial Day. But from 2004, they want to include other genocides. So that's when I become part of that Holocaust Memorial Day. Level City Council, I began to know a lot of people around there. So when we mentioned about those incidents, the City Council took responsibility, say, well, okay, if you think it's not adult, it's children, we need to tackle the schools. So the local authority on the time, they did amazing job. Create 15 members volunteers, council staff, community development workers, and target all the primary school in Benwell area, Biker, Walker, all those places. So we were invited, refugee, me and other people, to go to talk to these kids because they don't understand where we are coming from. We don't speak English. We don't say, who are they, where they are from, you know? So it was confusion. There were no communication. And Home Office, on the time when they disperse someone, they disperse into the area where people live without telling people. They don't know the neighbor where they're coming from. So it became a bit conflictual situation with, and many of them 2, 3 days, 4 days, talking with amazing, nice mobile phones. I don't have this mobile phone. Where these people are getting them, you know? It's Home Office are giving them. So it become a bit hostility. But since that development work start, we went to about all the school in Benwell, all the school in Biker, in Newcastle in general. And the outcome of that was quite amazing. You know, you can see kid testimony say, I used to do that, but I didn't know where these people are coming from, you know. Maybe they are terrorists, maybe they are, you know, we don't know them and they don't speak the language we speak. So who are they, where they are coming from? So it was in preparation of Home Office and the local authority on the time, but it worked. So from 2006, 7, 8, we begin to see change. And that's when massive dispersal around Northeast. But at the same time, we are having people who are refused cases, they are kicked out of the house, but because they know someone here or know the project, they go there, they get help and support. So they begin to feel part of this area, part of this city, because they cannot go back to their country. Or Home Office has no way to deport these people. So they're kicking them, leave them in the community, and they are supported by local community. You know, we are having donation here. Many of the area people are bringing check, are bringing this for destitute asylum seeker. But they have been here for 12, 13, 14 years. But you ask him to move somewhere else, they will not accept. We recently see people who are getting Section 4 support to be moved to another city. Amongst our clients, I got about 10 who refused to be moved somewhere else. So if not in Newcastle, I prefer to stay the way I am. Because you take me to another city, I know no one, then maybe pandemic finish, you kick me out again. To restart new life there, it will be difficult for me. So thanks for your support, but I will not move. I got friend, I got partner, I got things like that. So on Sanctuary, I became British citizen in 2007. And that was 5 years after I arrived in the UK. I can tell you, it was my first time to stay in one place for 5 years without fleeing this, fleeing this, fleeing this. So I can see my kids are very happy. I got 5 children, you know, and they're all happy going to school, doing everything fine. And I'm getting a lot of friends through work, through my connection. So for me, and I'm still missing my country, Rwanda, which I haven't traveled for many years because of maybe fear of what had been through me. But that's when my head comes, say, this is my sanctuary. I'm gonna stay here. I'm British, my neighbor love me, we communicate, do this. If I'm sick, I get a lot of calls, Ali, how are you, email. So I got family here. It's part of me now. I've been here now for 17 years, 18 years now. You know, and 18 years, you know, it's, now I don't have young kids. The last one is 16 and he was born here. And himself is proud to be called Geordie. I'm Geordie, you know? So things like that make you feel that this is home. Another anecdote, I went in my country 2 years ago. I was supposed to stay for 3 weeks, but after 6 days, I couldn't cope. I just feel I need to go home. And that's my home, you know. But the feeling, the nightmare or the experience or the memories make me not feel that is not me here anymore, you know. Yes, I got belonging, I got cousins, you know, but I feel more here than there. It doesn't mean I will still miss my country, but in the right way. But at this time here, I'm safe. My kids has grown up. Some of them are finished uni, some of them are starting. So it's really shown me that this is my city of sanctuary. And everybody, when they ask, where are you from? I'm from Newcastle, and they're surprised. Ah, you're from Newcastle. You were born in Newcastle. I said, no, I'm from Newcastle. Newcastle, that's where my home is, you know, and they tend to tell them that, I'm from Rwanda, I'm from Africa. No, I'm from Newcastle. So that feeling make me feel that this is my city. And as I tell you, all those experience, all those support I get, to the point where I mentioned that my health is always not well, you know, to work people who understand you, who support you, can be emotionally, morally. It's really encouraging to feel you got part of the family. So for me, Newcastle is my sanctuary. And I was telling my wife that, because many Africans tend, if you pass away, you got a means, they send your body back to your country. I said, no, me, I will stay here. I'm not going anywhere. You know, just imagine up to 1994, I've been more than 8 countries with my parents in refugee camps. You know, after 1 year, something happened. We need to flee again. But when you get somewhere, you stay more than 5 years without any harassment, without any problem, and your kids are growing up. It's really amazing for me. And I always tell people that I can see many of my clients, some of them, on the time when we had those incidents, they are getting paper, they move to London. They're getting paper, they move to another city. But after 2006, most of them begin to come back. I said, no, I'm coming back. You're going to help me for accommodation, for council house, things like that. So we work well with city council, and it's a city which is always welcoming people. You know, I can see someone who has been here 7 years, moved to another city, then decide to come back, but council still take you on their housing application. It's really encouraging. So for me, it's welcome city here.
Do you have, on these notes, I mean, it's really both emotional and makes me think a lot. And what you're saying is, like, do you see yourself, like, also your role in encouraging new arrivals also to feel that way, like to give your own story as an example of how Newcastle can become a sanctuary city for newcomers, even those who might have heard the negative stories about the city or have other prospects in London or somewhere else.
Yeah, I can tell you, since 2005 to 2017, I can tell you, we never had those incidents anymore. And thanks to the work of police, we work closely with community link police, which we had many clients who don't report incident because they are afraid of police, you know, through the experience I've been through. So usually, whereas it's a connection with, I say, you see, I was attacked here by this. Okay, we need to report to police. Oh, no. You know? So it's those to make them understand their rights and make them understand to report those. That's why those incidents really disappeared. But after Brexit, we begin to see those incidents again. Even it's not big number, but you know, it shocked me because I know people here, they are not like that. And they're against that, you know? So we don't know. And I don't know, they are young kids or they are adult, you know, but those incidents has been logged, you know, and it's really shocking because this is different city, you know. We can see the passion of football. People love Newcastle because of what? Football, welcoming, you know. So if you speak, you understand each other, you become my friend straight away. So that's strange things to I talk to you once and you become my friend. Everyone say, hey, Ali, why? Things like that. So those are things which attract people to stay here, you know, even though it's not 100% as it used to be, but the majority of people who come to us, maybe they've been granted leave to remain, say, oh, Ali, I got leave to remain, I'm moving to Manchester. Why? I don't like Newcastle. Why you don't like Newcastle? There I got friends. Okay, but I recommend you, because here you got welfare priority, which means the council will give you accommodation. They will help you to apply all necessary support or work whatsoever. You should stay here. Oh, I got friends there. They go, but after a month or 2 months, they are coming back. I say, no. The job I was promised, I never get that job, and I was living this guy. He began to ask me to pay electricity. So that's why I'm back. Can you contact the council? I said, no, you lost your welfare priority. You need to go like many other routine. So he did that, but he got his accommodation and said, well, if I knew, I would stay here. You know, those are things which make us believe it's a genuine city of sanctuary. Yeah.
Just on these notes, just the last question from me is either you and Anna, it is a city of sanctuary. If you look at the future, what would you like to either do yourself as workers, as individuals, or things that you would like to see happening to maybe solidify that the problem is that the world is a crazy place, and so we go through all these ups and downs and emergencies like Brexit, for example, that probably unsettled everybody, and so everybody reacted in ways that they would not normally. So just the idea, if you have a brief reflections about a blueprint for solidifying Newcastle as a city of sanctuary, and within that, if you have also some homework for us, because we talked about schools. Newcastle wants to become, I don't think it's already, it wants to become a university of sanctuary.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if we have a clear understanding what this entails, and so we would like to learn from you what it means. What would it mean from your perspective? Or yes, so this is my last kind of question. I know it's a big question.
And I would like to say something, Hannah.
I don't mind. Do you want to go first, or?
Okay, yeah.
I don't mind.
Well, yeah, as I mentioned before, the city of sanctuary for me means a lot. When I say means a lot, I really feel safe here, you know? I really feel safe. And I can tell everyone, I can explain anyone my experience doing this, you know? When City of Sanctuary started, I was asked what I'm thinking about City of Sanctuary. For me, I thought in religious side and say, how can be this? Then they made me understand City of Sanctuary. We wanted Newcastle to be City of Sanctuary because it's welcoming city. You know, we see there is a lot of people come from Africa, from all over. In Newcastle, it's populated by these people now. We consider Newcastle as multicultural city, really. We are feeling like London, Coventry, Birmingham, you know, where you see many black ethnic minority around. Newcastle now, everywhere, every corner you go, you will see black, 2, 3, 4. Maybe we can see 10 a day, 20, 30 a day, you know. So those are things which encourage people to know now here we are okay. We can be safe here. And I'm telling you, they made a lot to me because I was still feeling I need to go back home one over day. But the things are not changing over there, which prevent me to go freely. If I go there, I will not open my mouth, just shut up my mouth. So that's not freedom, you know? And well, here I can say what I think. Here I can say what, the police will not arrest me because I insult someone, no. So those are things which encourage people to feel that they are safe here, they are safe here, and they are welcomed, you know? For those who had been granted refugee status, I'm 100% they feel exactly the same as me. In particular, those category of 2002, 3, 4, because that's the year where the number was massive of dispersal. They can disperse every week, maybe 300, 400 people. So it's become a bit Newcastle now. And thanks, we realize Geordie people are not racist. You just need to tell them, make who you are, where you are from, and why you're over here. You didn't bring yourself. It's Home Office brought you here. You never think you will fall over here. So those are differences where make people say, ah, okay, I'm going to stay here. You know, even if some of them are not 100% sure, but after staying here for 2 years, straight away say, oh, Ali, you were right. I'm working now. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. My family came. You know, so it's things, the stories which confirm what we are saying, that Newcastle is one of the city of sanctuary. You see the number since 1999 to today. Yeah, the statistics are amazing. We got a lot of people, a lot of people. So yeah, that's what I would like to add a little bit. And thanks to words, I can say, to reassure me on understanding, or to make me understand, because you know English is not my first language. Sometimes you need to learn and study to make you understand something maybe you were not understanding before. You know? So yeah, that's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
I think I could add, I think Ali's very positive about Newcastle. I mean, I think it's amazing hearing your story that things have become more positive. And I think going back to what we were talking about before, I think having Ali as a support worker gives so many of our clients, I think it genuinely gives people hope to come to a city and see Ali, who has lived experience as a refugee, in a job giving advice, and to say, you know, you can do that in this city. But I still think there's loads more we can do. I think the City of Sanctuary initiative is amazing, and there's some, I've seen it in the last few years, particularly working with something like Skills Match as well, which is a big part of it is about, so Ali was talking about when people start understanding the Home Office sent me here, who I am, where I'm coming from. It's not just from, you know, there was no choice. It's not for the job or the jobs in the region, because there are still loads of assumptions out there. And when we deliver our training and when we do our awareness raising, so we deliver training with the volunteers, but also a lot of Ali's work has been going out talking to schools, which I think we'll end up doing on Zoom these days. Just the waking up of people to, I mean, I didn't know anything about this until I started working in this sector. Even if you read all the stuff, it doesn't hit home the real realities of the asylum system and experience of people when they arrive here, never mind what horrendous trauma people may have experienced before they arrive in the UK. It all starts again when people get here, and I do that. You can't really argue with that. And there has to be a system, but the system is it's tough for people. And I think a big part of the Skills Match project, the volunteer training, the small bits where you get people to wake up, the kids that Ali talks to, where they may have had an idea of what a refugee is, and it'll be completely different by the time Ali's walked out of that room and finished talking to them, and it's only different in a positive way. But all of those things help to build a bigger city of sanctuary, a stronger city of sanctuary. I think with something like and I do think there's two things, aren't there? There are things about awareness raising and just, I always think, we train one volunteer who change it, they go and tell their friends, and there's a kind of ripple effect. So more people get to understand and hear and have the conversation. But at the same time, there needs to be bigger institutional change that allows people, more asylum seekers and refugees, to access education and jobs and things that, to become who they can really, you know, to fulfill their potential. Because there's a lot of people, and Skills Match is a big part of this, isn't it, Ali, in terms of trying to get people, it's a bit of a stepping stone, or we talk about people who've got into work, but it won't always be the job that they've done in their home country. And there's a huge gap sometimes between when people arrive and all the skills and all the experience they can offer and whether they get the opportunity or not to apply that in this country. And some people want to do something totally different, and that's great when you want them to be able to do that. But some people want to enter into a profession that they've done before, and it is so hard for them. And I would say if that can happen more, then we would say we're closer to a city of sanctuary, because that's allowing every individual who arrives here to fulfill their potential, to become who they can be and they want to be. Without, yes, life throws limits at people, but you know, if there are more opportunities there. And for some of our clients, it's not possible because what's happened to them they are unable to be able to do that. But at least then to feel welcomed and feel supported by their local community is one thing. But for some people, they could, but the system doesn't allow them to. And I know that's a really big thing to say, but I suppose it's about the small changes of awareness raising in those conversations, and then the bigger stuff. They can both kind of join together somehow. Then I think that would make a big difference. But we've had good conversations with people who are engaging with City of Sanctuary, different organisations, different sectors. We've seen stuff in the arts, haven't we, Ali, that's been good, you know, and certainly in educational sector. So yeah, there's a lot of hope there for more positive change. So I suppose the journey that Ali's come on and seeing Newcastle, it can just keep going, hopefully, get better and better, you know?
Mm-hmm. Thank you both so much. I've just looked at the time and see we've oh yeah, believe it or not, it's 2:45. It's and I just wanted to make sure we gave our audience members a chance if they wanted to join in. Not to put anyone on the spot, there's absolutely no pressure, but if those of you who are attending and have been listening would like to ask a question, please, if you wouldn't mind turning off your microphone and you can start just speaking. I can see that none of you have turned off your microphones, so it might be that you're feeling, oh, somebody has, so I'll stop and I'll turn over to that person. Okay, go for it. Oh, we can't hear you. I don't know if you want to speak. No. Can anyone else hear that speaker? No, unfortunately we can't hear you. Are there any other questions that any of the audience members might have?
There is also a chat function. So if the student who we cannot hear, if they want to just type very quickly the question, we can just address it. In the meanwhile, if there are other questions,
Hello, can people hear me?
Yes. Hello. Hi, welcome.
I'm Scarlett and I'm from the module, the Refugees, Borders, Camps module. And I was just wondering, I was just also wanted to say thanks for putting this event on, and like it was really useful, and just kind of reminding us that this is still going on whilst we're all kind of sat at home. This is still, everything's still working and stuff, and all the work you're doing is great. And I was just wondering if is there a boundary to people still getting involved because of COVID and because of the situation, or can people still be trained up to become either like partners, what was it, the Skillshare or what you said, or kind of like a befriending scheme? Is that still possible for people to be involved with and to be trained, or does it have to take place after social distancing and everything?
So we temporarily, Ali, I'll answer this just because it's about volunteering things.
Yeah, yes.
We temporarily stopped, like we'll put a pause on recruitment when the lockdown first happened, literally because we were just trying to sort of jiggle everything around. But we have since got funding to put our training online, and we're at the moment recruiting for remote befrienders. So it has the same kind of guidelines as the last lot of trainings. I suppose unlike the skills match buddy, if you want to be a befriender, you need to make a commitment or be able to make a commitment of 6 months. But the training is all online and we're doing it in a couple of weeks. So we have put recruitment adverts out around the usual channels, like through the volunteer centre, and I think some through the universities. to recruit people into those roles. And at the moment, it would just be for remote befriending because that's the most active area of volunteering. But it doesn't mean to say that people couldn't become a skills match buddy or a support worker or a befriender, which would involve some face-to-face contact, probably with a mask at a distance at some point. But we are, yes, so we've opened it up again. And I think it's a good thing to have put our training online. We'll do Zoom sessions, so there's a bit of getting to know everyone, and then there'll be modules people work through, just because there's a lot of stuff in our training. So I think a lot of Zoom would be too intense. But yes, so people can still engage. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome.
As you can see from the chat, Charlotte would like to know about the impact of the Black Lives Matter movement on refugees in Newcastle and your reflections about that. And I told Charlotte that we will have a separate meeting in a couple of weeks to reflect more broadly about issues of race, police violence, and refugees, and whether or not we can and how we can link the issues of sanctuary and justice for refugees and the broader issues of racial and ethnic discrimination in the UK and globally. Is there any other questions, Alex, and as well, if you want to ask more questions, we have 10 minutes.
I was just going to ask Ali and Hannah. So, when the concept of imagine, I just wondered, like, from the stories that I was reading to write this thing, a lot of, I don't know, it seemed like words definitely provided a space for people to imagine a better life and to imagine themselves reaching their full potential. So I just didn't know whether you've got any reflections on that, and yeah.
Well, it's quite tough, that question for me. Yeah, but yes, to imagine the situation which we are in at the moment and the future, there is a lot of things which we are thinking about. But as I mentioned to you before, Newcastle has been positive for really a lot of positive things to asylum seekers, to refugees. So, for example, the police violence, as you see, I have never come across that someone has been harassed by police, kicked or arrested in very bad way. All my community, we got huge Rwandan community, we got huge Congolese community, we got Ethiopian, Eritrean. Those are people who can tell us if there is some sort of discrimination, and we always report any incident. So regarding to that side, we have quite a lot of good work with police. We work in very collaboration with police, communities. So this reassures a little bit. We know we are in difficult situation, pandemics, some people are uncertain, don't know what's gonna happen to them in case most of them are gonna lose jobs, things like, so those are things which we don't know the impact of that. Those is to be ready for that. For many of our countries, just explain the situation, how it is, how to follow the procedure, so those are things which we are trying to learn now. But to know what's going to happen to the situation going to be, as we are hearing on the news, the economic situation is really not good. Not only UK, it's really around the world. People will struggle. And now we can see how solidarity is in Newcastle. So, well, I imagine things will be okay, even if it will be in difficult side, but I'm quite positive on that. I don't like to go into negative feeling to that, because I know it's difficult, it's tough. Well, maybe something happened, maybe another pandemic here, come back. So those are fair we can have. But for me, well, as I say, it's a difficult question, which makes me think a lot of things in my mind. Yeah, but anyway, that's what I can say a little bit that way. Maybe ask Hannah to add something if she can.
I suppose, so I think Ali you were almost thinking about, because we are thinking about the Black Lives Matter movement and what all that means as well, because we're very aware of it. But I think Ali's going to talk about that in the next session.
Yeah.
But Alex, to go back to the idea of kind of imagine and for people to imagine a better future for themselves or a better life themselves in terms of our clients. I think what WERS has done for years is offer really steadfast grassroots support for people, just to get people back on their feet when people have been knocked over, you know, both, you know, in kind of physical terms and mental terms, in terms of what we see of people, how they arrive here, and then how the asylum system can actually, people can become, they can feel worse after arriving here than feel better. But what Ali and the support workers do, and all of our fantastic volunteers do, is kind of just give people that support. We're alongside you, we're with you, and we're fighting your corner. And we hope that we can get people, and we do get some people to this point, where they can start to imagine. It's part of a journey, isn't it? And I think we have these discussions about like our idea of progress. People arrive and they can just get better. And everyone likes an idea of our idea of progress, but often progress for a lot of our clients is just managing to kind of, you know, to just go along through everyday life. Because what is progress when you're an asylum seeker in terms of, and you can be in that system for years. So I think tiny things like coming to see Ali, and when I first started at WERS, I sat in with Ali, as I know that Silvia and Catherine have this experience of clients coming in just overwhelmed, but leaving feeling better from having talked to Ali through lots of stuff, through, you know, really an amazing way with people. And
absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and lots of experience and really, you know, good quality advice, but also an amazing amount of just encouragement and human connection that can help people walk out that door feeling a little bit closer to imagining that they, you know, that they can get through this and that they can go further. Yeah, I think we see it in our clothing store volunteers. It's like a really simple thing, but we've seen people just grow into supervisor roles and organizer roles, and then gone on to do lots more, because there's small steps that can make people start to really think, okay, I can do this, and I can do, maybe I am going to go and study that thing I want to go and study. And just the confidence to kind of dream again, I think. I don't know, Ali, what do you think?
I totally agree with you, absolutely. This is a big number of our clients, is those imagination they are having all the time, you know. And as you mentioned, you know, we are lucky in this building to be like a house or something where someone can come and feel, as I mentioned, I got a lot of people who feel like home, you know. We got a lot of time before the pandemic. He cannot go out before coming and take his coffee here, you know, things like that. So it's the place where we can listen to each other. We never ever shout here. We never ever argue here. So people, they come, even if sometimes they come sad, you need to find the right words, the right way to make them feel that we are sharing the same feeling. We are suffering together. And that gives him a courage a bit to say, okay, you know, you got a question to ask him in order to get response, in order to make him feel better. So those are the support worker technique, actually, which on refugee community or asylum seekers, you know, they need someone who feel on their situation. Otherwise, you're gonna be his enemy. You know, we got someone come here, say, Ali, I want this. I say, no, you're not eligible, you're my enemy. No, this is how it works. This is how, okay, sorry. So you see, there's understanding. To make people really understand what they are told to do or what their letters, you know, things like, so those are the confidence they're getting, and confidentiality also, because our communities, refugee community, we don't have too much confidentiality, you know. The mouse of word go like fly, you know. So it's very important that person to tell you his stuff and to keep it confidential in our office only. We're not going to share with anyone except she gave us permission. So those are things which reassure them and say, oh, okay, now I'm feeling this way. To the point where some of them are getting paper, getting job. So those are things they always think in their mind. And in the past, if you see people claim asylum today, the decision will come after 4, 5, 6 years. Just imagine someone living on that, not knowing what's going to happen to him when Home Office will decide. And at the end, Home Office decide to give you refusal. You go to court, refusal, but you've been here 6.5 years without Home Office looking your case. So those are the stress which make people, they develop some sort of mental health even, you know, because they have been with hope and waiting. At the end, 6.5 years, they say no. So those are the shock, the panic. So if you don't know how to discuss people like that, or read the letter where they wrote the refusal decision, no, you're gonna make him worse. And sometimes we had people in the past, they killed themselves because they got negative decision in court and just went and killed himself because they said, I cannot go back to my country. Because, you know, so those are things which always think and imagine all the time, yeah.
I think that the trust that WERS has built up over the years through the work of Helen and Ali and the support workers, trust's a big thing in terms of people being able to come and have that space where they feel supported and they can keep just trying something in there where they can keep imagining to keep going. Yeah.
Well, I think that's actually a good moment to stop. And thank you both, Hannah and Ali, for all sharing your time and your insight. Silvia and Alex, and our participants who were listening as audience members. I just thank you all. It's been a really fantastic set of reflections. So I think we say, shall we close for now? Is there anything else? No, we say, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Cate.
for having us.